In terms of gameplay, Horizon follows the popular open world formula, which is likely familiar to most players. You are placed in a vast open world with various activities to engage in, ranging from well-crafted side quests to mundane tasks like kill 10 enemies and collect 40 random collectibles. There are also challenges to complete, enemy bases to clear, and villages to stumble upon. Gameplay-wise, this open world is in the middle of the road for me. It's not exceptionally good, but it's not bad either. I found myself wanting to complete a lot of the content it offers. But there's also some incredibly monotonous and grindy stuff that's not very engaging. There isn't much to add, because if you played other open world games in the past 20 years, you'll find Horizon to be quite familiar. What I want to comment on is the presentation and immersion perspective. It is impressively beautiful. The dynamic weather and changing time of day contribute to the sense of a living, breathing world. You'll encounter random people going about their day on the road and near campfires, packs of machines and occasional wild animals. The ruins of old cities are scattered around, adding to the atmosphere. The different tribes have distinct architecture and culture that are easily discernible. The city of Meridian is particularly impressive. But despite this meticulous design and beauty of the world, there is a notable lack of reactivity to your actions. You can run around and push people, even shoot and throw grenades, without anyone reacting. There is a surprising absence of NPC responses to anything really. Even riding on machines, which for them should be a remarkable feat, goes unnoticed. This lack of in-game reactivity really detracts from the overall immersion. Horizon Zero Dawn, as a story-rich open-world game, features a substantial amount of dialogue. However, while a significant portion of the experience relies on dialogue, it is, well, not very well made. The character interactions, while not terrible, can feel stiff and unnatural, with characters often moving and behaving more like dolls than real people. The quality of the writing and voice acting is inconsistent. While some dialogues are engaging and enjoyable, most characters are just forgettable. Additionally, lip syncing is sometimes poorly synchronized, with characters' mouths not aligning with their speech, like at all.
And the Manuk would paint a mark on the sun's climb. Called to the machine spirits, I understand. They need no beckoning. Glinthawk's perched there.
And I'm not sure what is going on with their eyes. For some reason, they frantically move around during conversations, as if every single person in this game is having intense hallucinations while talking to you. I think they wanted to add some eye movement to make the characters feel more lifelike, which is a fine idea. But what the hell is this? Another thing about dialogues is that they have basically no reactivity. There is a choice system, but it usually only results in minor changes to a line or two of dialogue, while not changing the outcome at all. Which feels very odd, because sometimes there are moral dilemmas in the game. For example, you get hired to find a thief and return a valuable sword to its owner. Later you discover that the thieves are something like local Robin Hoods, stealing from the rich to help the poor.
We use the shards to make sure the poor in Shadowside get to eat, or bandage their wounds.
Yet you don't get to choose how to handle this situation. Aloy just decides on her own that she will help these people with their problems, and in return, they will give back the valuable sword.
I'll consider it. But only if you return the sword to Ravon.
This decision is made without player input, leaving no room for players to express their preferred approach. This lack of meaningful choice can be frustrating in scenarios with moral ambiguity. The core gameplay outside of running around the open world revolves around a combination of stealth and combat. The stealth gameplay reminds me of The Last of Us 2, with elements like hiding in bushes, resource gathering, and crafting gear while stalking your enemies. It is all that, but considerably less exciting, challenging, impactful, and immersive. Of course, I know it's not entirely fair to compare these two games. I just couldn't help but notice the contrast. Stealth is just okay. It is there, and there is not much more to say about it. When it comes to facing machines, stealth takes a back seat. Instead, you utilize a variety of bows, traps, and other weapons from your kit. Each robot has its own set of weaknesses that you're expected to exploit. The game features a wide array of machine types, each with unique behavior, sound, and tactical approaches. It's a fresh and appealing concept, and the visual and sound design enhance the experience. Dismantling components from robots is genuinely enjoyable. It's simply fun to break off a robot's weaponry, pick it up, and turn it against them. The not so fun part of the gameplay is the difficulty. I appreciate a good challenge and enjoy playing games on higher difficulties, so I was excited about Horizon because I believed it had the potential for an excellent difficulty system. Picture this: the robots are genuinely terrifying, requiring you to evade them as much as possible. Strategically plan your attacks and carefully learn their strengths and weaknesses. Resources are scarce, so you have to think wisely about which weapon to use to avoid wasting anything. Each battle could be your last, but if you play smart, you can come out unscathed. A true survival experience in a post-apocalyptic world. Unfortunately, Horizon Zero Dawn is nothing like this. Instead, here's the gameplay on the highest difficulty. The difficulty merely increases enemy health and decreases your damage output. When it takes 4 headshots to kill a human, or 100 arrows to defeat a machine, it's not immersive or challenging, it's just tedious. I've made a genuine effort to play on a higher difficulty, but by the mid-game it became clear that what's happening on the screen isn't actually challenging. I didn't need to carefully consider my every move. Resources were in abundance, and enemies weren't intimidating, they were just frustrating. The whole experience felt tedious. This issue isn't unique to Horizon Zero Dawn. Many games seem to mistake difficulty with tediousness. I hope that developers will someday recognize that being unable to stealthily kill a regular human with the best available bow isn't true difficulty. Wasting 200 arrows in every fight isn't challenging. Reducing the effectiveness of a healing item, forcing you to grind more, is just a time-wasting inconvenience, not a genuine challenge. Until that day comes, I'll be playing games like Horizon Zero Dawn on lower difficulty setting. and I recommend that you do the same. Another issue with the gameplay loop is character progression. It just doesn't seem well thought out. There are two main ways in which your character becomes stronger. The first one is gaining experience, leveling up and using skill points to enhance your abilities. Pretty straightforward. The problem here lies in the skill tree itself, which leaves much to be desired. Some of the vital gameplay features are locked behind skill points. Basic abilities like silent takedowns, healing pet machines, and collecting items while mounted. These feel like things Aloy should be able to do from the start. Why should I have to spend 2 skill points just to shoot while standing on a rope? Moreover, many skills on the tree are just boring and do not impact the gameplay. Slight increase in inventory space, minor damage boost for specific attacks, and slightly reduced noise are hardly thrilling choices. These skills fail to introduce new mechanics or make Aloy noticeably more powerful. To be entirely fair, there are some interesting skills in the tree, like the ability for a triple shot, strike from below, or improved dodging. These are more like the kind of skills that I expect from systems like this. Unfortunately, they are in the minority. The second aspect of character progression in the game involves obtaining new equipment, primarily armor and weapons. However, I find that armor, for the most part, functions more as cosmetics with minor bonuses. For example, 15% resistance to elemental damage is something, but it's not a noticeable game changer, and it's definitely not something players actively strive for. The number of modification slots in armor is more important, but many armors of the same rarity level have the same number of slots, so there isn't much variation. Weapons follow a similar pattern. While many weapons have interesting concepts, the standard bow and its upgraded version are objectively the most effective weapon in the game. It offers speed, precision, and good damage, making it the go-to choice. Other weapons often feel more like support options to the bow and have situational uses. For example, it is nice to have a better range with a sniper bow, but it is slow, resulting in lower DPS. Similarly, the elemental bow can apply elemental effects, but the arrows themselves do minimal damage, so it's often quicker and more efficient to use the standard bow. This pattern applies to most weapons in the game. One major issue with the weapon and armor progression, perhaps the most significant one, is that the progression itself is nearly non-existent. You obtain new armor and weapons simply by purchasing them from the in-game shops, rather than earning them through completing challenges or quests. In fact, some of the best equipment, including one of the top-tier bows and armor sets, becomes available to you when you first reach Karja territory, which is very early in the game. For me, it was around a quarter mark of the playthrough. As a result, for the remaining 3 quarters of the game, I didn't upgrade my main weapon even once, and only occasionally switched armor, mostly based on aesthetics. In other words, there's very little equipment progression in the game. The only exception is the Shield Weaver outfit, which you can obtain by collecting all the hidden power cells scattered around the world. It's a cool and powerful reward for players who enjoy finding hidden items. However, the last power cell can only be found in the penultimate mission, which essentially restricts this armor to the very final mission of the game, some post-game content, and maybe a DLC, making it somewhat less exciting. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please consider liking and subscribing. It is very important to me and you'll help out a lot. This video was just a slice of my comprehensive retrospective review of Horizon Zero Dawn. If it is finished, you can watch the full review here. Otherwise, watch another slice right here.